It got very quiet. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Okay, we're going to call our meeting to order. We're going to have a roll call by our Assistant City Clerk, Claire Lopez.
Let the record reflect all members are present.
If you'll all rise, Deputy Mayor Aguilera is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I know this. Please join me in honoring our nation's flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I loved it.
I think that's the most fun I've had pledging allegiance in a long time.
I know. She did a great job. Okay, with that, I'm going to have a moment of silence. I'd like to begin this meeting with a moment of silence to honor all of our veterans and those currently serving in the armed forces. In addition, we want to honor those killed and hurt in the tragedy in Thousand Oaks and in the wildfires throughout our state. Our thoughts and prayers are for the victims and their families, as well as for the firefighters and the law enforcement personnel that work so tirelessly to protect us. And so I'd like to just start with a moment of silence, if I could. Okay, thank you. We'll go on with in accordance with the Brown Act, I'd like to announce that as a result of convening simultaneous meetings, the members of the Buena Sanitation District will receive compensation of $147.75 for the district meeting pursuant to Buena Sanitation District Ordinance 2006-1. So I'd like to remind everybody that the Vista Municipal Code requires members of the public to observe order and decorum at the meeting and to conduct themselves in a courteous manner. The ordinance was adopted to allow for public input and to facilitate city business without disruption of our meeting. Applause is appropriate for items listed under the presentation portion of the agenda only. Attendees should remain seated during the meeting, and persons needing to stand are requested to step outside the city council chambers where the video and audio of the meeting are playing. So this is also listed on the agenda cover sheet. And so with that, we'll have approval of our agenda by our city manager, Patrick Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. There are no changes this evening.
Okay, this evening we have one presentation. Actually, it's a lot of presentations, but it's all in one. And so we're going to do, the rest of the council is going to join me at the podium. We're going to have a presentation of the certificates to the graduates of the Fall 2018 Vista Leadership Academy. So if everyone would join me down there, we'll do that. Okay. City of Vista is proud to present its 19th Vista Leadership Academy's graduating class. This academy proves insight to Vista residents on the city's operations and its many responsibilities and functions. Our first academy, conducted in 2007, was an overwhelming success, and every leadership academy has grown since then. Congratulations to the Fall 2018 participants. So please come up as I call your name to receive your certificate, and then remain standing up here, and then we'll have one big group picture. So we'll start out with Jim Adams. And next is Ruth Adams. Christine Bird. April Brooks Dresman. Phil Church. Barney Dressman. Trey Falter. Jennifer Garish. Is Leah Jacut here? Jacut? Is Leah here? She might not be here yet. James Kennedy. Annalise Azevedo Lore. Freddie Lopez. Roger Mayton. Anna Nettles. Ellen O'Connor. George Rios. Marilyn Rudolph. David Sanchez. Michael Sather. Magali Sosa. And Johnny Torgerson. And that is our 19th Vista Leadership Academy. Congratulating class. So we have to get in here somewhere. You have to squeeze in here so we can be here. Okay.
You don't want to block anybody.
Hey, let me put this down. Wait. Okay. There you go. Yay!
Stand up here for the meeting, okay? This is fine, this is too much fun.
Yeah, right. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Okay. We have no speakers. So with that, we'll move to our consent calendar. The recommendations on the following consent calendar will be enacted in one motion unless an item is removed from the calendar. Any member of the public can remove an item by submitting a request to speak card to the clerk secretary. And items removed from the consent calendar will be considered immediately following adoption of the calendar. So we have 11 consent items this evening, C1 through C11, and I don't have anyone from the public that's pulled anything. So how about the city council? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve the consent calendar as presented.
I have a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second, so please cast your votes. That motion passes unanimously. Moving next to our public hearing, there's one public hearing this evening. This public hearing has received testimony on proposed changes to fees and policies for recreation and community service programs and city services. The public hearing is now open. Recreation and Community Services Director Theron Dickman will introduce the item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Theron Dickman. I'm the Director of Community Services and Recreation with the City of Vista, and tonight we will present our 2019 fees and policy changes for our department. With me tonight to present is Imelda Huerta, who is our Management Analyst.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight I will be reporting on our 2019 proposed fees and policy updates. Let's begin with our department's mission, which is Recreation and Community Services provides programs and activities that serve the needs of our community. We operate many of Vista's recreation and cultural arts venues and facilitate the youth, adult, and senior recreation activities and services. Effective January 1st, the minimum wage will increase by $1, which will significantly impact our department as we have many temporary and part-time employees. In addition, we anticipate increases to our contracts market and industry. The estimated impact is approximately $100,000 department-wide. Before we discuss the recommended changes, I'm providing an overview of the council-approved annual level of support for each division. We have cultural arts, general fund support up to $200,000, general nutrition, general fund support up to $350,000, Wave Water Park up to $400,000, and recreation programs have a cost recovery of 70%. Okay, let's begin with cultural arts. Here are 2019 season. The producers, Matilda, West Side Story, and Victor Victoria. On this slide, you will see the subsidy history for cultural arts. We are pleased to announce that we have a subsidy of 0 for the last fiscal year. The season went very well. The Cultural Arts Division is not proposing any ticket fee increases. However, an average 10% rental increase is being recommended to get closer to industry standards and budget projections. Staff also recommends a consistent rental fee structure. On this slide, you will see the industry comparison criteria. Staff compared the Avo and the Moonlight to similar local or semi-local venues located in Escondido, Oceanside, San Diego, and Orange County. Here you will see the rental increases per location and rehearsal day or event day rates. It is also broken down by a half-day rental versus a full-day rental. The largest difference falls under the Moonlight Amphitheater Rentals Group C, but as you can see, our recommended rates fall well under industry standards, and the rentals for this group are very few, if any. In summary, the cultural arts estimated revenue increase should these changes be implemented is $20,300 plus any ticket sales exceeding projections. The estimated increase to expenses is approximately $50,000. Before I move on to the next division, are there any questions on the cultural arts recommended changes?
Deputy Mayor Aguilera.
So just so I'm clear on this slide, because I haven't seen this slide. So there's a $30,000 deficit is what you're estimating then? Okay.
Correct.
But this year, there was no subsidy given to the Moonlight.
That's correct. We didn't want to raise we felt that this was a deficit that we'd be able to absorb. And again, these are projections. But given that we'd made some changes in years past, we thought this year this would be a cost for the most part that we'd be able to absorb. Chances of it being 30,000 is probably going to be a little bit less than that. So.
And all of this is because of the minimum wage increase?
Yeah, we have a dollar.
Not only pay, but also, I'm guessing, vendors too?
There'll be some vendor increases too. Of course, we don't know what those are, but we do anticipate some increased costs that we'll have to pay for those contractual services. But yes, it's primarily tied to federal minimum wage increase.
All right, thank you.
I did want to add on this slide, 30,000 of the expense increases is due to the minimum wage for cultural arts.
30,000 of it is? Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
Councilmember Green has a question.
And if I'm correct, we allot $200,000 to supplement
Yes.
already in our budget, so we don't have to re-budget or anything for that $30,000 deficit necessarily.
Yep, correct.
Okay, thank you.
It's up to $200,000. So.
Okay, seeing no further questions, we can move on to the Wave Water Park.
Okay. Okay, next we have the Wave Water Park. Let's see, the Wave Water Park has operated under subsidy for the past few years. On this slide, you will see a breakdown. We are also happy to report falling under $300,000 this past fiscal year. General admission tickets over 42 inches, under 42 inches, Vista resident spectator day ticket, group rate city employee day ticket, and group on promo are recommended to increase by $1. Vista residents will still receive a discount ticket price of 10%. A $5 increase on the weekly price is recommended for swim and water polo team practice and games, as well as a $5 increase on the Aqua Camp weekly fee. The Aqua Camp rate has been consistent for many years. This increase is necessary to assist with the impact of minimum wage. This camp's prices will remain competitive and reasonable. Staff also recommends a $5 increase to small cabana rentals and the approval of the possible addition of a $10 increase to both large and small cabanas should staff implement a new feature currently under consideration, which is installing a safe to hold valuables in each cabana. Staff estimates an increase of $42,758 in revenue next season to help offset the expense increases, which is estimated at $50,000. Before we move on to recreation programs, are there any questions on the Wave Water Park?
I do.
Councilmember Rigby.
Just for a reminder for everyone, on general admission, we have 42 inches and taller and 42 inches and smaller. What is the difference? Tiny humans can't get into certain parts or can't participate in certain activities. Can you clarify what those activities are?
It used to be Rippity's Rainforest. However, now that we have the splash pad there, smaller kids, as well as those over 42 inches, are going to be able to get into that area. This year, we kind of played it by ear to find out what the size restriction should be or shouldn't be. So we'll probably be less restrictive next year. After that, there are really no other new restrictions. You have to be a certain height to get onto the slides, as well as certain. We're not going to let everybody get onto the flow rider. I'll just put it that way. But it's something we try to look at each year. We try to give a discount to the younger kids versus a certain age break, or in this case, a size break.
Okay.
In the past, it had been because of size. So.
Okay. Have you thought about going from size to age on your admission prices?
We have. We chose not to make any changes this year just because it was the first year of having Rippity's not having Rippity's. And we felt that 1 year of having the splash pad and seeing how that dynamic affected our admission or our operations wasn't quite enough. We wanted to see at least another year and see, okay, let's get a larger sample size than just perhaps 3 months. But it's something that's been discussed, and it's something we can certainly take a look at in the future.
Okay.
A lot of times aquatic centers do operate off of sizes, so sometimes that is because there's a size restriction on certain amenities to the park. So.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other questions, we can move on.
Okay, next is recreation programs. Staff recommends adding a $65 setup fee for rentals at the Civic Center location, which consists of the setup of tables and chairs. The fee is based on the rates of a new vendor. In addition, staff recommends adding open space under the park general/parking lot section, which you will see on the next slide. This is to allow staff to rent out park space that is not related to established picnic areas or other current park rental locations. Staff also recommends increasing the cleaning fee for rentals from $160 to $175 for the Morris B. Vance Community Room, $110 to $158 for the Jim Porter Rec Center, and $110 to $118 for the Thibodeau Ranch House, formerly Thibodeau Community Center, to align with the city's janitorial service vendor. Before we move on to the Rancho Buena Vista Adobe division, are there any questions on recreation programs?
Councilmember Green.
So we're allowing people to rent our parking lots for events, it looks like. Have we done that in the past? I just don't know that I've seen it before. So it looks like all parking lots, 51 to 100 people for 2 hours, $12, $16, $19. So like somebody can call us and say, hey, we want to use your parking lot to have a church sale or yard sale, or I mean, what does that entail exactly?
It doesn't happen often.
Okay.
But we put it in there because it has come up over the years. I think more times than not, it might be in conjunction with a special event, or perhaps there's already an existing park rental in that space and they need a little bit more space, and perhaps it's involving something to do with areas they need multiple cars or something like that.
So it's more of parking than like carnivals in our parking lot.
Right.
I'm just saying it looks really reasonable to have a...
Yeah, that's not really the intention of it.
Okay.
It's more if they need additional space. And again, say you had a large family reunion. I can't name what special event or what extracurricular event they might have or need for the parking space.
Okay.
But I can tell you from previous experience in my career that sometimes they need additional park space than just the shelter area that you may have rented, or just that particular park space.
Gotcha. So it's more of parking use per se than just the actual space for an event.
I've seen that too. Yeah. If they just need some dedicated space in a public space, that is available, but then that's taking away from the public use, so there's a premium.
Yeah.
There's a charge to reserve it specifically for those user groups.
Okay, cool.
Just doesn't happen all that often.
Good information. Thank you.
Is it $12 a parking place or $12 to park.
No, it's $26 for the whole lot. It
Well,
looks
Group
like.
A is, Group A, the Group B, 26 is for the
Oh, yeah,
whole,
12, yeah.
whole lot?
Yeah.
I have another question. How come why do it says all groups, the cleaning, like you have Group D is 284, and then you have the cleaning, which is 175. Why do you not just wrap cleaning into the rental price? Is there a reason for that?
Because not every group wants the cleaning. So you can either hire, we have groups that can do that, it's a service we provide, or else they can do it themselves. So we have it as an additional option.
Oh, okay.
If we had it in the regular fee, then everybody would be required essentially to pay that, but we give people the option.
And they do a pretty good job of cleaning it up when they...
For the most part, we can always do a little bit better, but we typically try to encourage folks to take advantage of that service.
Okay, okay.
If somebody's not using the kitchen, you can opt to clean the room yourself, but if you use the kitchen, then you pay the cleaning fee.
Oh, okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Move on to Rancho Buena Vista Adobe.
Okay. The Rancho Buena Vista Adobe has minimal changes for 2018. As noted in the previous division, staff also recommends adding a setup fee at the Rancho Buena Vista Adobe, which will also be $65 for the setup of tables and chairs. In addition, an increase to the cleaning fee for rentals from $110 to $148 is also recommended to align with the current rates of the city's janitorial service vendor. Before we discuss our senior services budget unit, are there any questions on the Adobe?
I don't see any.
Okay. Okay, next we have our proposed changes to the senior services budget unit. Staff recommends a decrease in the van trip fee from $6 to $5 and an increase to the shuttle trip fee from $4 to $5 to create a one-trip cost regardless of type of vehicle utilized. A single rate for shuttle or van allows for interchangeable vehicle transportation. A rate effective July 1st, 2019 coincides with the current Caltrans grant report cycle. Before we move on to our proposed policy amendments, are there any questions on the senior center?
Any questions? I don't see any.
Okay. Significant changes to our policy are as follows. Under definitions, nonprofits must have a City of Vista local chapter address for the Group A resident nonprofit rate. Teen is defined as a person age 13 or greater. Youth events are defined as a gathering time with entertainment or social interaction, for example, a birthday or baptism. And youth is defined as any person age 7 to 12 years and 11 months. Under general rules, sparklers and smoke machines are added to the list of prohibited items. All equipment, for example, tables, chairs, dance floor, etc., used during rentals must be from a rental company that provides a certificate of assurance with endorsement to the city. We changed the word pets to animals, which are not permitted unless they are service animals. And we added number 22, using parks and city facilities for business or profit purposes is prohibited without written authorization from the city, such as a rental contract, lease agreement, or instructor contract. We also added and clarified some verbiage in the events with alcohol section. We added kegs, pony kegs, or similar receptacles are not permitted. We clarified that facility rentals where alcohol is consumed shall be a maximum of 5 hours of event rental, excluding setup and cleanup times where alcohol is not permitted. In the security section, we added all security has a 4-hour minimum charge. We also revised the youth teen event section to note that teen events must have 3, previously 4 security guards regardless of number of guests. And finally, we added number 5 in the fee section regarding disc golf. Facility rental applicant must pay 50% of the facility rental fee at the time of reservation. Outstanding balance of facility rental fee shall be paid no later than 90 days prior to event date. If the reservation is within 90 days of the event date, 100% of the facility rental fee is due upon reservation. Are there any questions on the policy amendments before I move on to our last slide?
Councilmember Green.
All right. So 2 questions. With the security charge, a 4-hour minimum, what was the minimum before?
I'm going to have to call upon my recreation manager, Mr. Robert Anderson, to help me out with that one.
And is it a substantial increase having the additional time for security as far as that goes?
Turn the mic on.
Nice tie, Rob.
The minimum previously was 2 hours.
Okay, so what's the change fee-wise for security? And why was it changed?
The security companies were no longer willing to do the 2-hour minimum.
Okay.
To get their staff there, to make it worthwhile, they required a 4-hour minimum. So when we went out to bid, it wasn't just one vendor, it was multiple companies requesting that.
So we have no choice, basically. Cool, thank you. Appreciate it. And then my last question is for disc golf. I know a lot of disc golfers. Are we saying now that if they reserve like a disc golf time, they have to pay 50% in advance in order to reserve like a tee time per se now, or what is that?
Rob, I'm going to need your assistance on that one again, too.
No, the course is still free to the public.
Okay.
However, if you want to reserve the entire course, then it's required with the fee. And the fee basically is justifying that all those picnic areas in that area cannot be reserved by the public, so that we're not losing revenue. We're charging that cost.
Okay, so it's for like an event. It's not just for the regular daily disc golf player. Okay,
correct.
Cool. That was it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
John Franklin?
Oh, Councilmember Franklin.
What was was there a specific event or events that caused the change with regard to receptacles for alcohol, the banning of kegs and pony kegs?
This one I think I can answer, but I might need a little assistance too. I think it was more of a reflection of some omissions in our own policy, not being clear enough to set the expectations with our customers that, hey, this isn't allowed in with your particular rental. As you know, most of the places we don't allow alcohol, and if you are going to do that, then select places and they have to get the proper license. But we just didn't want to have people show up and say, okay, well, I read your policies and it didn't say anything about this particular type of receptacle, because we had been more specific on other areas. Each year, throughout the course of the year, we get a question or two or three or four that are ones that we hadn't really anticipated before. And we realized, maybe we should revise our policy structure here to be a little more clear. So I think that's the main thing here. I would like to ask Rob and Donna Meester. They do a lot of the rentals as far as our recreation center and our senior center, and see if they have anything to add to that, because a lot of times they and their staff are the ones who are fielding these calls directly from customers.
The only reason I ask is because I have some friends that had a wedding reception at a city event, and I can't recall whether they brought a keg in or not, but it certainly is cheaper than and a lot less wasteful than bringing in a bunch of glass bottles. So if you're going to have beer, I'm just curious what the thought on that is.
Yeah, so we're not changing the policy, we're just defining it a little bit better. It's been policy that kegs and pony kegs haven't been allowed for probably 15 plus years. The reason behind it was just the amount of consumption that the public was consuming at the time, which created more difficult situations for staff to handle. So that was the justification behind it many years ago, and we have continued to uphold that.
Okay.
That answers all the questions? Okay, moving on.
Okay. The Community Development Department also had a change to their wide load permit fees. Major revisions to their service fees were adopted in May of this year. The city was recently advised that the fee established for wide load permits exceeds that allowed under state law. Staff is recommending revisions to the wide load permit fee consistent with state law, which is $16 for a single wide load permit and $90 for an annual wide load permit. The changes to these fees will become effective immediately. This concludes my report and presentation. Staff and I are happy to answer any further questions.
Any other further questions? If none, I would close the public hearing and look for a motion. Councilmember Aguilera. Deputy Mayor Aguilera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and adopt City Council resolution approving revisions to the Recreation and Community Services Facility Rental and Program fees and the engineering user fees, and amending the Recreation and Community Services policies and procedures. I think this fits into our fiscal responsibility as a city and one of our goals as a council to maintain fiscal responsibility. And I was also very glad to hear about the Moonlight and that they were able to sustain themselves. So that's great. Yeah.
I have a second? Oh, Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to echo congratulations to the Moonlight Amphitheater. Every year I think you can't get any better, and every year you surprise me. This year was no exception. You did a great job. I'm very excited for 2019 as well. So I appreciate the work that you've done over at the Moonlight. Just absolutely stellar. And congratulations on winning some awards, I understand, as well this past year. So excellent job. It's always tough when we revisit raising fees for our recreation and community services programs that we have in the city. But with the costs coming at us from outside sources that we have no control over, including the increase in minimum wage, which of course will be passed on through all of our vendors for the different things that we have to supply from outside the city, not just from city staff. So it's very difficult when we have to do this. But this time, it's not as bad as people thought it might be, and there are some areas that we are not raising any fees, and we're trying to keep it at a level where we are just recouping the cost that it takes the city to put these programs on or to offer the facilities. So it is a difficult conversation, but I'm glad that it's not a really bad conversation we had a couple of years ago or a few years ago when it was much worse, or the fees were going to go up higher than they are here. So I appreciate the complex report. I appreciate the depth of the report and looking at everything across the city, across the board. And you've done a great job with doing this, and also done a great job with trying to keep the fees at the lowest minimum that we can, and finding areas that we can keep them where they are and not raise them. So I appreciate the due diligence that staff has done in that area as well. But with that, I will go ahead and second the Deputy Mayor's motion.
Okay, with that, please cast your votes. That motion passes unanimously. The next thing on our agenda are discussion items, and there's 2 discussion items this evening. The first one is the amendment to the Public Employees Retirement System contract, and our Assistant City Manager, Ali Zimmerman, is going to introduce this item.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council. With me tonight is Human Resources Director Dolores Gasson, and she will be presenting the staff report.
Mayor and the City Council, when the City Council approved an MOU with the Vista Firefighters Association, with the VFFA, this past October, that agreement included language that VFFA members who participate in the Classic California Public Employees Retirement System, or CalPERS, the classic formula, would then receive a 1% salary increase in exchange for contributing an additional 1% of salary towards their CalPERS costs. Upon ratification, in order to accomplish this exchange, the city must amend its CalPERS contract. Upon ratification of the MOU, staff started the process with CalPERS to amend the city's contract with PERS. PERS requires that the following items be placed on the agenda of a public meeting of the City Council as part of the contract amendment process: a resolution of intention and an ordinance adopted by the City Council. These items are included as Exhibits 1 and 2. We are before you now because CalPERS further requires the contract amendment not be listed on the consent calendar, so it has been placed on the agenda as a discussion item. The resolution of intention and the ordinance are the first of a series of steps required of the city by CalPERS to amend its contract. Concurrently, VFFA members who are Classic PERS members are completing ballots electing to make this contract amendment. The amendment ordinance will be brought before the Council at its meeting on December 11th for a second reading, and at that time we will also ask the City Clerk to certify the results of the employee election ballots. This concludes my report, and we are available to answer any questions.
Councilmember Franklin.
I'd make a motion that we approve the contract amendments that have been drafted by staff and approve this item.
Okay, I have one speaker. I have one speaker. Do you want to hear a speaker?
Sure.
Okay, Joshua Tienda.
Good evening, Council Member, Mayor Judy Ritter. I'm not going to speak specifically to this item, but I am going to read something from the California Policy Center. It says, according to CalPERS own data, California cities that are part of the CalPERS system will make normal contribution this year, totaling $1.3 billion. Their unfunded contributions will be 40% greater and $1.8 billion. As for the counties that participate in CalPERS this year, their normal contributions will total $586 million, and their unfunded contributions will be 36% greater at $607 million. That's nothing. However, using CalPERS' own estimates, in just 6 years, the unfunded contributions for cities will be more than double from $1.8 billion today to $3.9 billion in 2024. This unfunded contribution for counties will nearly triple from $607 million today to $1.5 billion in 2024. I don't have to tell you, keep on saying these figures because you already know the point I'm trying to make. The point is California needs to reform its CalPERS program. Otherwise, we as a city will be stuck paying the bill. We have to raise sales tax and it was to recoup these unfunded liabilities. And there was a lot of talk about this past election about where the SB1 money is going, and some speculated that it's going to fund these unpensioned liabilities. But I urge you that looking at these contracts, you know, tell Sacramento to do something about the CalPERS system. Otherwise, we're going to be left stuck with the bill.
Thank you, Joshua. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and second the motion, and thank you, Joshua, for that information. And I think that's something that we're trying to fix with this.
Yep. Okay, seeing no other comments, I will ask for your vote. That motion passes unanimously. The next thing on our agenda is our fiscal year 2017-18 fourth quarter financial report. Finance Director Lauren Warren will provide the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. The fiscal year 2017-18 fourth quarter report serves as a summary and comparison of general fund budget to actual results for the current and prior fiscal years ending June 30th. Total general fund revenues were $81 million compared to $76 million in the prior year, which is an increase of about 6%. Actual results were also about 6% above or favorable to the city's projected revenue budget. Property tax and sales tax are the city's largest sources of revenue. These sources were relatively flat as compared to the prior year, and Exhibit 2, which is on page 11 of the agenda report, provides more narrative explanations for some of the revenue line items worthy of noting. Total general fund expenditures were within budget projections at $78 million. The agenda report includes recommendations of future uses of $3.7 million of available general fund year-end fund balance, as detailed on page 2 of your agenda report. This list includes increasing the general fund emergency reserves to $21.8 million, or 30% of the 2018-19 general fund expense operating budget, which moves the city closer to the council goal of 35%. Tree trimming in order to get the city back on a normal maintenance cycle. Resurfacing 12 courts for tennis and basketball and striping of pickleball courts. New tree planting on arterial streets and to replace removed trees. Begin to set aside some funds for a general plan update in 3 years. An additional restroom facility at the Moonlight South End. So the recommendation is to receive and file the fiscal year 2017 to 18 fourth quarter financial report, as well as adopt 2 resolutions amending the 18-19 operating and capital project budgets for the items detailed on page 2 of the agenda report, and amending City Council Policy 200-19, use of year-end fund balance. This concludes my presentation. Staff are available for questions.
Okay, any questions from our council? I don't see any. So I would recommend a motion. Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it very much. Looking at the year-end fund balance items that we have listed here, I appreciate very much staff coming up with these items. These are very much in alignment with council goals, what we've talked about in the last year, maybe 2 years, of some of the things that we want to get done in the city. So I appreciate this list very much, and I appreciate the time staff has taken to put these together and research what we can do with the monies, making the most of the monies that we have, getting the most done with it. So I appreciate that very much, and with that, I would go ahead and move to approve staff's recommendation.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Deputy Mayor seconded, so please cast your votes. That motion passes unanimously. The next thing on our agenda are oral communications. Do I have any speakers? I don't have any speakers tonight on that. So we'll go to remarks. I'll do my comments here, and then I'll ask for everybody's remarks. So I have the Vista Chamber Business Expo is tomorrow, Wednesday, November 14th from 4 to 7 at the Vista Civic Center Community Room. So registration is online at vistachamber.org. So it's a Chamber Business Expo, which is always a great expo there. The Vista Library is hosting an acoustic showcase featuring the Nathan and Jesse Folk Band this Sunday, November 18th from 1:30 to 2:30. The event is free and it's open to the public. And the Gloria McClellan Center is hosting a Thanksgiving Day buffet on Wednesday, November 21st at 11. So reserve a spot by calling the center at 760-643-5288. The Thanksgiving Day buffet on Wednesday, November 21st at the Senior Center, the Gloria McClellan Senior Center. So with that, I'll go down. I'll start with Deputy Mayor. No? Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to mention that North County Transit District tomorrow will have a meeting at the Vista Transit Center from 3 to 5 to discuss and listen to the community about possible future enhancements at North County Transit District. So I encourage you, if you at all are interested in transit, to be there tomorrow at the Vista Transit Center. It's from 3 to 5. And there's more information if you go to gonctd.org. gonctd.org. Thank you.
Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do want to report out from the Sandag Public Safety Committee that I attended last week. One of the reports was regarding the Vista Jail and the veteran inmate population, and the strides that we've made with that population, particularly. If you're not aware, the Vista Jail has a particular module where military veterans are housed in inmate population. and the services that they are provided and assisting with the needs of that particular population. And the report was a very good report on the Sheriff's Department. And I know that our Sheriff's Captain is back there as well as some of our deputies. And I was very impressed. I've been there, I visited the modules myself, and I've seen what they do, and they do a really good job. And the success rate for that, they're trying to figure out how they can transition that model, helping our military veterans coming out of the prison system and not to reoffend. They're trying to figure out how they can transfer some of those skill sets into the general population to further assist that population as well. The second thing that they talked about was the county is working on achieving national accreditation in excellence for mental health services to all inmate populations. And they have identified an exhaustive list of goals that they have to meet in the next year to qualify as a nationally certified mental health to help with the mental health of the populations across the board for all female as well as male populations. So that was very good news to hear in San Diego that our county is working on these issues for assisting in other ways, trying to find ways outside the box to help all of our inmate population in general as well as with mental health issues that they have. So I was very glad to hear that. So that's my report out from Sandag.
Councilmember Franklin. Councilmember Green.
First of all, thank you everybody for showing up and sticking around for the entire meeting. Thank you Leadership Academy graduates for going through that program and learning more about our city. I'd like to congratulate my colleagues on what appears to be successful elections. So know that although we don't get along all the time, we definitely all love Vista and work together for the betterment of Vista. And I would not be a good son if I did not acknowledge my mom, who flew 2,000 miles to be at this meeting tonight, along with my dad and my grandma. So with that, that is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to let everybody know that the city offices as well as the county library will be closed next week on Thursday and Friday in observance of Thanksgiving. And trash pickup will be delayed one day. So if your trash pickup's on Thursday, it'll be on Friday. Friday will be on Saturday. And I want to wish a belated birthday to Councilman Green, who had a birthday about 11 years ago. He's 25. And upcoming birthday to Councilwoman Rigby on Thursday. So, birthday. 23.
23, yeah. Our city attorney, Joe.
Thank you.
City clerk, assistant city clerk, nothing down there. So with that, have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Enjoy, eat lots of turkey and whatever, and we're adjourned. Well, thank you.